The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to another episode of vBrownBag. Tonight, coming to you on the US Brown Bag, we actually are recording in Australia, so a bit of a cross-planetary bit of cooperation going on here. So tonight we've got an intro to the Runecast APIs with Ivo from Runecast, and we're going to get a bit of an introduction onto what we could do with the APIs, a bit of use cases of why we might use them. So just before I hand over, I'll just go through some of the quick notes. If you'd like to see anything that vBrownBag's up to, we use the Twitter handle use the Twitter handles at vBrownBag, LATAM and EMEA, and we also use the hashtag vBrownBag. Now we do have a couple of shows, as you can see on the right, and my name's Brett Johnson. I'm the host tonight, and Ivo, if you're ready, I'll hand it over to you and make you presenter.
Yep, that sounds good. All right, so you see my screen?
Yep, that's coming through.
Yep, awesome, thank you. So, hello to everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks, Brett, for the brief introduction. Let me introduce myself a little bit further. My name is Ivaylo Ivanov, or Ivo for short. I'm a VMware engineer at Runecast. I hold several certificates in VMware, VCP, VCAP levels. I'm a VCIX. I'm the expert for the last few years. I'm really an automation enthusiast, PowerShell, Vero, PowerShell, everything. You can find me on Twitter. You can send me an email, look at my public repository on GitHub, or read of some of my blog posts available at runecast.biz or thevirtualist.org. And enough about me. I have just added one slide before we cover the main topic, so we'll know what we'll be using the APIs against. Not sure how familiar you're with Runecast and Runecast Analyzer. It's basically a proactive solution that will alert you about issues in your vSphere environment before they affect you and cause unplanned downtime. We correlate your current setup and configuration settings against known issues. And by known issues, I mean all those VMware KBs we're usually ending up after we're having some outage. That reminds me of the time when I was working as VMware admin and I had to explain to the customer that their production downtime was actually related to a known and already documented issue, which already had a known workaround or patch fix was already released. And I can tell you that searching for the right KB during critical incident is pretty stressful and it's really time consuming. As bringing back the services up and running, it needs to be done as fast as possible. And Runecast will do that for, in fact, it will identify and report all KBs which symptoms are relevant and matching to your vSphere environment, and thus giving you the lead time to plan and remediate potential issues. And yep, that was just to cover real brief the solution, and we're going to be technical from here now. So this all sounds good, and where the Runecast API will fit in? Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's integration. Nowadays, the IT infrastructures are getting larger and complicated, increasing the needs of integration and automation. Runecast Analyzer offers fully featured REST API. Almost everything that can be done via the user interface can be performed programmatically. REST API is one of the most popular and widely used standards lately. Well, that in my opinion relies on its simplicity. Most of the requests are either GET for receiving some data or POST for sending data. Most common use cases are integration with third-party tools, like for example, ticketing tool. If your favorite change management or ticketing tool have such capabilities, you can query Runecast Analyzer through the API and automatically create tickets based on the issue found in your environment. So somebody can react and look into those. Another use case would be a monitoring portal. Having information from multiple tools in centralized system is crucial for supporting really large IT environments. They don't have the time switching between multiple interfaces from various tools. With the Runecast API, you can add custom dashboard into your portal to display the status of your vSphere environment. So you have like overview right there. And Brett, I didn't mention in the beginning, but feel free to like interrupt me or ask any questions if something needs to be further explained. That's not a problem.
Yep, no worries.
Okay, awesome. So one more slide before getting our hands on the actual demo. It's what we'll cover. First, we'll look into setting up a secure connection. Then we'll briefly cover the access levels. And at last, we'll actually submit a REST request and look at various options which you can do that from. So if I can switch to my demo environment. Yep. So this is Runecast Analyzer interface. We're not going to spend time on it at this point. So far, we laid down solid ground so we can cover exactly how to consume the APIs. First step was to set up a secure connection. So to follow best practices and security recommendations, each REST request against Runecast Analyzer has to be authenticated. This is accomplished by including API access token into the authorization header in the request.
So you said each
API
API.
access token can.
I'm sorry. You said each API request has to be authenticated. I assume the token would have some sort of expiry time where it might be valid for hours, minutes, whatever it happens to be before you need to get a new one.
At this time, this functionality is not yet implemented due to the fact that we recently introduced the row-based access module for the tokens, which I'll cover a little bit later on. But yeah, at this point, the tokens do not expire.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, that's correct. Each REST request have to be authenticated, including the API access token into the header. The token itself can be generated from the UI, going to the settings menu in the API access tokens. It's pretty straightforward. You're just clicking on generate API access token. You can provide a description. It's not mandatory, but recommended. About the access level, I will cover in a little bit later. So let's just click on generate now. And here is your API access token. As outlined here, make sure to copy and store it in like secure location, because for security reasons we're not going to display this again in the Runecast UI. You can create new one, you can delete this one, but we're not going to show you again the generated token. So let me copy that and open Postman. That's one of my favorite tool for working with REST APIs. Here you can see I have previewed the address of one standard and pretty similar endpoint. What I want to demo here is actually on the authentication. I don't have any headers now in my request, so if I attempt to submit this request, yep, it failed with error 401 unauthorized, and you're displayed with the message that authentication failed. So let's add the valid API access token. Here it goes. Okay, and let's repeat that again. So there we go. Now we're having statuses okay. We're seeing status code of 200, and we're seeing actually what has written from the server. I queried for the centers which are registered in Runecast Analyzer, and that's what I get. The data is in JSON format. We don't use XML. If something needs to be passed through the server via post request, it has to be also in JSON format. And we can surely validate that. If I go to my vCenter connections, I do have only one, and that's the one which is reported here. One other thing I wanted to outline here is that Runecast REST API is accessible only on via HTTPS. We do not support the HTTP protocol, again, for security purposes. So that covers the first part for securing and authenticating your request. Next one is actually to define access levels. Runecast Analyzer has two levels of access: admin and read-only. Those levels can be also used when generating an API access token. So I'm back on this same page, and here I can generate the API token as either with admin access level or read-only. As the role name is pretty self-explanatory, the admin role can do everything, can issue all requests, has access to all endpoints. The read-only one can practically initiate only GET requests and only pull the information from the from Runecast Analyzer. One thing to note here is that read-only access token also is not able to initiate a rescan of your environment. It's exactly as it says. It's read-only, and it does not do anything more than that.
So
That's useful for. Yep.
it sounds like a good rule of thumb then is if the API request isn't get, read only won't do it. If you need like a post or a
Yep.
put, has to be admin. Is that pretty much the easy way to think of that there?
Yep, that's correct. And the main reason is that most likely you would want your like third-party tools, or let's say monitoring portal, for example, only to pull data and not actually perform any changes on your settings on the vCenter, on like to add or remove vCenters or things like that, or
Okay.
deal with filters, licensing, because all this is possible to via the APIs. But for example, I would not have my portal having such access level.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so the access level, and yeah, make sure if you want to use an API access token which needs to trigger a rescan, that has to be admin level. Another way of overcoming this is setting up of automatic schedule that it will scan your environment every 1 hour or twice per day or something like this based on your requirements. Okay, so we covered the access levels as well. So time to move right to the API endpoints, and there are multiple ways how to consume them. First, I want to show the easiest way how you can get familiar and test out the API endpoints. We have integrated Swagger interface in the Runecast analyzer. Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yep. Okay, I accidentally pressed something. Sounds good. Yeah, just want to confirm that I'm not speaking on good. Yep. So as I said, we have an integrated Swagger interface. It's accessible through the setting page on API access tokens, and here we have the link to the Runecast API, which is leading you to the Swagger interface. It's a standard Swagger interface. Like I would expect most of the people are probably familiar with it. The API endpoints are categorized, and by expanding the category, you can see further information what method this endpoint uses. And let's see, we have some post or post methods. Yep, you'll see a brief description and how to work with this endpoint. We have great examples, what you receive in return, or if the endpoint expects any parameters, we can help you how to structure them, and yeah, what's mandatory, what is not. Yeah, so when testing requests through the Swagger, you don't need to include the API access token into the headers because you're already logged into the appliance, you're authenticated, and there is no need of providing API access token.
So
So
when you're logged into the client, are you always logged in with admin rights at this point?
that depends. So you can have read-only user. You can have it depends with what user you're logged into the environment, with what access level you have, and the endpoints will be executed with the access level which you currently are accessing Runecast Analyzer with.
So if
You
I'm
can
logged
be
in with a read-only account, will the methods other than get be visible and just fail, or will they not appear?
they would be visible, but they would not work.
Hmm.
I mean, you receive a notification that you don't have sufficient privileges to do that.
Yep. Excellent.
Yep, great. So let's actually try one of those, and let me go really quick to the discovered KBs and pick up, let's say, the first one. So if I go back, Swagger interface, and I can query results for that specific KB. That's here is the example of what I would receive in return, and here is the required parameter is the KB ID, which you have to provide. So you can just provide this and click on try it out. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, you don't need to add the authorization header as you're already authenticated. And here is the response body. We ask for the results for this KB, and here we see which objects are affected by it. We see the response code 200 was successful. That's the a response in JSON format. You can further pass it, take whatever information you need from it, and use it in your custom applications or script or whatever else you can think of.
Okay, so if you provide the KB, it will not only show you the details, but it'll actually go into what the status of that KB is on your environment or your environment
Yeah,
against that KB.
exactly. That is correct. It will return you with the affected objects, which are they under which center, and why they are affected. What were the findings? Yeah.
Excellent. So it sounds like that could be quite easy to use in different tools, like different scanning tools or compliance tools. You might make that quite easy.
Correct. Yeah, because we also have we're covering security hardening in terms of VMware security hardening guidelines. So we can scan your environments against those. And also we have this stick compliance reporting. So for example, here are the VMware guidelines. I can see where I'm passing, where I'm failing. All this information can be retrieved through the APIs as well. And one thing else on the Swagger interface, here you can download the Swagger JSON file, which basically includes all those endpoints in JSON format. So you can include it in, you can import it in third-party tools like Postman, for example. You can download the Swagger JSON, import in Postman, and you'll have all those endpoints imported there and ready for either testing, exporting, or consuming in any way. Another way of accomplishing that is you can go to my public GitHub repository. There I have exported my Postman collection as well as Postman environment, where you can very easy can adjust the. You basically need just to provide access token and address to Runecast analyzer. They're defined as variables and as environment variables. So yeah, you can just change two of them and you can use it in all your requests. But yeah, that's a little off topic. It's straightly Postman related.
No, it's good if people know where they can go to try it themselves as well. And Postman's an excellent tool for learning, and especially if you're more used to visual environments to sort of get a feel. So no, it's definitely useful information there.
Yeah, certainly, I do agree with you. And I want also to share one a little bit more interactive way of interactive demo on how to consume the APIs. So that I have one vCenter here. We can move into PowerShell, and I have a script prepared, which has a few variables that need to be defined in the beginning. So it's the Runecast address, the access token, which actually this access token would not work anymore. I better use the one which I just generated. Yep, okay, that's better. Below is basic information for the vCenter, address, port, username, and password. So Runecast can add it and scan against it. We have brief block for accepting self-sign certificate. This is demo environment, and I haven't put out a certificate from certification authority, and it's using the default self-signed ones. And sorry, and basically that's all that has to be adjusted. What the script is going to do next, based on the provided address to Runecast analyzer, it will create the base URL for the API. Then have one block here which is preparing the request to add the vCenter to Runecast, and yeah, checking if the request successful, and if it does, I'm taking the vCenter UID, and I'm going to use this vCenter UID on the next API call where I'll pass this parameter in order to trigger a scan of that vCenter. So yeah, I can open the UI here and PowerShell. So let's see. Sure. Yep. So the notifications here, you can see that the vCenter was already added, and yeah, a little too fast, but the scan also completed. Let's confirm that on the settings page. Yep. So I have the vCenter which I just added. It's scanned, but I see here actually that doesn't have a license. Yeah. Let me assign one. In fact, this also can be done via the APIs. I just haven't thought of adding it there. So let's update this, and if we go on the dashboard and look more into this vCenter which I just added. So I just scanned it a minute ago, and here is a summary of checks which were performed, just like 8,000, but that's a very, very small environment, it's just 3 hosts. Here you can see KBs which are discovered, best practice, compliance, and all things like that. So I added script in my GitHub repository as well. So if someone is interested, can like use it to build upon it, or just as a reference how to prepare the request, body, and how to send them and how to handle the request. Another thing which you could find there is again PowerShell script, which can be used for automatically deploying and configuration of Runecast Analyzer. So with just one script, you can deploy Runecast Analyzer, which is being shipped as OVA. You can deploy it in your vSphere environment. You can, in fact, even using your username and password, generate API access token, and you can use it to add your vCenters and to scan it. So it's like zero-touch deployment and configuration. You just run the script, and everything can be done for you. So that's also shared in GitHub. So anyone can feel free to look at it, edit, or like take some blocks of code which he might need. He might find useful.
So with that scan that you ran, do you have a request that you might be able to show us of how you could get the results of that via the API?
Yep. Like let me go back to the Flutter interface. So under the result of analysis, you can get in this one would receive the scan results from all vCenters. You can be more specific, and you can take only from specific objects or specific KBs or issues. So you can be very granular on what information you're querying the Runecast Analyzer for.
So when I'm looking at this, I can see there's sort of the results there, and when I'm seeing the vCenter ID, that's under, is that objects there where we can say, okay, well, I'm interested in a specific vCenter server. Maybe it's one of my sites, for example. I can then just say,
that's correct.
And then under that, there's the objects vCenter UID and the MOID. Is that MOID an object we could pull from vCenter through their managed object browser, such as if we want to look at a specific data center cluster or some other object?
Yes, that is correct. The Mo ID, which belongs under this vCenter, is the managed object ID, either host VM or whatever else. It's the Mo ID corresponds with that.
So for those who aren't familiar with it, MoID in vCenter, it has a managed object identifier, and it's applied to a lot of different things. So a cluster, for example, will have a certain object identifier. It's just like a data center. A data store will have one. So pretty much anything you could consider an object in vCenter will generally have one. And if you know what that is, you could use that here to get granular in terms of what you want to see. So you might be able to see if a data store has a specific issue, or you could limit this down into scopes or potentially other areas, depending on how Runecast structures that as well.
Yep, it's the endpoint which is retrieving the whole result. It's structured by vCenter. So you have specific like vCenter UID and all like object APIs issues which are relevant to it, and then another one and as many vCenters you want. So you could either use that and take care of the response and parse and take whatever information is needed, or in order to make better use of the bandwidth, not too much data to slow back and forth, you can just be more specific and take only the information that you need.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that was actually what I wanted to share and to show. You can.
Do you have any examples of where customers have utilized how some customers may have utilized the API in their actual environments outside of a demo, where they've been able to find value from using the API over just the standard web interface?
Yeah, for some of the customers, I know that they use them exactly for including the data from Runecast into their centralized internal portal, which is custom for them. They have it to display multiple dashboards from different monitoring tools in order for their first level support to have a better overview of the environment. So they're leveraging the Runecast APIs, and you can be very granular. You can like show only critical issues or critical measure or top 10. That's upon the implementation.
Excellent. Cool.
Yep.
And I think
And
it's a lot about a 14-day trial.
yep, that's correct. So feel free to like sign up. You can download the OVA. We have 14 days trial. While the number of issues which are reported during the trial period is limited, the REST API is fully functional. So you can test all endpoints, you can do everything with it. The limitation in the trial, it's only related to the reported issues environment. And yeah, I'm including a link to my GitHub account once here. As I mentioned, I have included the scripts, this one which I showed, and some others you can find there.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ivo, that's really interesting. And yeah, I like that idea where you mentioned the use case there you mentioned about the dashboards, because constructing dashboards is a pain I don't think anyone actually likes to endure, and being able to make it easy to get that information and display it in a usable way is always a nice thing.
Yep, and thanks a lot for having me. This was my first vBrownBag sessions where I speak. I do like it. I was more nervous prior that rather than during the session itself. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, and for everyone listening, we'll keep checking out our YouTube channel, and we'll post up more videos. This will be up there shortly, but if you're watching this, you probably already know that. And this has been another recording for vBrownBag. I'm your host, Brett Johnson, and that was Evo from Runecast. Thank you.